In this video, we're going to talk about how to clone the Google Code repository using Git, and also adding changes to that repository and then uploading the changes via Git as well as the web UI. Since most everyone is using Backtrack, we'll just cover these examples using Backtrack. Git comes installed with Backtrack 5, so you can just check that when you type in Git. If it doesn't come installed with Backtrack 5 for whatever reason in your particular version of Backtrack, or if you're using some other distribution, you can go to the Git website and download the appropriate Git package. First thing that we want to do before we download the repo is to make a couple of changes which are system wide. So the first change that we want to make is we want to create a .NET-RC file so that we can store all of our settings for interacting with Google Code. And here you'll just see that I've copied this link verbatim. If you go to Google Code website and click on the source link, there is and then there's a definition around how to get and clone the objects, but also next to it there is a little button that says get your Google Code password, and if you click on that link, it gives you this information. So in this case, I've replaced my password with this ABCDFG, but the point that is most important is that this is what you need, where you would need machine code.googlecode.com login, your username and or your account name, and then password and your password. Everything pretty much that we're going to talk about in this video as far as links are concerned and other information is concerned is actually available on the web page for the Ministry of Defense Google Code project. So for example, if you go to this link, you will see the instructions and all the things that I'm sort of copying and pasting with respect to links and so on and so forth. So this is just to kind of show you what the output looks like and what the expected results are. If you just go, as you can see in this particular case, that if you just go to the Ministry of Defense Google Code page and then select source from the top link and then click on browse and get instructions.txt, then you'll be able to see detailed instructions for everything that I'm doing here. So the first thing that I'd like to do is to create a project directory. So where we're going to install all of our different this particular project, or maybe other Google Code projects, or whatever other Git projects that you might have. So we've created the directory, and then I'm going to step into that directory. And now in here, I'm now going to download clone the Git repo from Google Code. So now that we're in our projects directory, we're going to clone the Ministry of Defense Google repo, and here now you can see that we've cloned it, and we have a new directory now inside of our projects called Ministry of Defense. So now that we have a local clone, what we want to do is add the remote site, which is the Ministry of Defense Google Code site as a remote. And so we're going to go ahead and add that in. The reason why we've gotten this error is because we're not within the directory itself. So we move into that directory, and now we can add it. So now the remote site has been added in. Next thing we're going to do is just take a quick look at what all is in here. Looks like there's some instructions. There's a git instructions.txt file and readme file. So this is essentially, these are all the things that are in here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue to follow the example of hping. So I have an hping directory where we have placed all of our different props.conf and our configuration files for Splunk. So now we can see that we have a default directory which also contains the root hping2 directory has a default subdirectory and a readme file, and an app.conf and a props.conf. What we want to do now is we're going to copy that directory to our Ministry of Defense project directory. So now you can see that we have the hping directory here. Now it's within the same directory structure as our repository, although we have not added this directory yet. We just have it created, but Git still doesn't know about it. We're going to cd into that hping directory, and then we're just going to say git dash git add dot, and now that directory has been, all the contents of this directory have been added in. And then if we say git commit, which means that we do want to add all this stuff in and commit this to the repository, I'm going to add a -m flag to add comments. If you do this, it just saves a step, adding hping2, and now you can see that those files have been added in. If we want, we can run the git status command to see what's different on the branch master, and here it says that your branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit, which means that we've added more data than what's actually on there, and that makes sense because no one's updated the hping2 application settings for Splunk just yet, and we're the first ones who are going to be doing that. Now what we're going to do is just back out of it and go to the previous directory, make sure everything is here, and then we're just going to push all of these changes into our branch master. So we're saying that we want to push everything from the Ministry of Defense, and hit go, and now you can see that we're writing multiple objects and things have been written, and now everything's up to date. So now at this point, if we say git status, we should see that nothing is waiting to be committed. Everything is just the way as we would as expected as a result of this push. Now if you wanted to validate that, or we want to take a look to see if our changes actually took effect, we go back to the Ministry of Defense Google code page, and if we select source and then we look at browse, what we'll notice is under the git directory there is a hping2 directory as well, and if we expand that, we'll see that there is a default subdirectory, and then there's also the readme file which we can click on. We can open it up and we can see what's in here, and then the next person who either pulls or who clones from this repository from this point forward will get those appropriate changes. So what does that look like from another person's perspective? So for example, in this case, we have we were the ones who made the changes to the repository, and we pushed our changes. We look at another person's computer. You can see here this is a different machine. When we compare it to this particular one, this is a Linux system, and in this case we're on a Mac. And so here if I look at the directory structure for Ministry of Defense, this is the old way that it looked like before we added hping. So here if we just simply say git pull, now our changes will be updated, and so now whoever the other user is on the other end who wants to take advantage of the changes we just made is now able to see those changes. And now you can see that we have those other components of hping2 within our local repository. Next thing I want to show you is you don't necessarily have to use Git in the way we used it. If you want to upload files to this repo and you have access to do that, you can do it from the source link. And so you click on source and you can go to browse, and you can see that these are all the different files and so on and the hping directory that we just added to this repository. And let's say that we want to create another one. Let's say we want to have hping3, for example, and you don't really want to use the command line version. You can go to create, or you can go to upload. Create allows you to change files in line. Upload obviously will allow you to then upload a file from your local system. So if we click on upload, for instance, we can say, okay, we want to have this screen.txt file. We want to add some commit log to it and say trying web UI upload, and here in the path, this is where it becomes interesting in the sense that if you want to create directories or subdirectories, if you just add screen.txt just like this and you commit, what you'll notice is screen.txt gets added. This is the result. This is what these are the contents of screen.txt. So if you go back to browse, you'll see, and if we look under git screen.txt got added to the root of our Git repository. So maybe you didn't want to do that. Maybe you want to really create an hping3 directory. The way you do that is if you go to upload and we go to browse again and we say screen.txt, for example, and in this case what we'll do is we'll modify the path to say this is hping3 / screen.txt, and this is, we're going to say web UI upload with directory, for example. And when we say commit to that, what you'll see now is file still gets added, and we go back to browse, and now we have an hping3 directory. How do we get rid of this directory now that we've created it? So I'm sure there's another way to do this, but I don't know how to delete a directory looking at it from within the web UI. So we can go back to our Git local Git clone, and if we do a Git pull for this repository, then we should be able to download everything. And now what we'll see is we have his hping3 directory. I want to delete both the screen.txt directory as well, file, as well as the hping3 directory. And then what I want to do is I want to use this command git add -u, which adds all the deletions now to my repository. And so now when I do a git status, you'll see that some things have been deleted. And so then when I do a git commit -m and say deleted test files, and now those changes have been committed, and now I can say git push. And we'll just go up so that we have the right syntax here. We'll push the Ministry of Defense with all flag, and we'll execute that. And then now things have been updated, the master is updated. And so now when we go back and reload this page, we'll see that the hping3 directory is gone. And that's all I have. If you have questions or if you have concerns, some of these things are already listed in the document section or the Git instructions section, and there's a little page here in the wiki for pushing changes to Git repo. There are links to detailed Git instructions, as well as links to everything that I just talked about.